Good morning, this is your 10-point newsletter briefing for August 7, 2026. We begin with a look at 3 plays for military and economic power unfolding overseas. According to new U.S. intelligence reports, Russian President Vladimir Putin could test NATO's resolve with a limited assault on an allied country within the next few years. A Russian drone hit an apartment building in western Romania in May, underscoring the heightened tensions. Turning to China, Beijing's expanding dominance over global supply chains is making its export machine even more formidable and far more resilient against foreign tariffs. Meanwhile, Middle East correspondents examine whether Iran's diminished diplomats can broker a breakthrough to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. For a lighter note, there is a surprisingly hot market for winemakers that happens to be 30,000 feet in the air. Moving to today's headlines, President Trump signed a pair of executive orders that he said were aimed at cracking down on birthright citizenship. Amazon quietly gained approval for a $2 billion data center in California, and residents are now outraged. Trump's pick to lead ICE is facing resistance on Capitol Hill. New York City's part-time dwellers are looking for creative ways to dodge the new payday terror tax. And the FAA ordered the inspection of hundreds of Boeing 737 MAX jets over possible cracks, the latest safety issue to affect the plane maker. In the markets, the S&P 500 futures are at 7,746.75, up 0.16%. The DJIA futures sit at 54,026.00, up 0.02%, and the Nasdaq 100 futures are at 29,623.75, up 0.46% as of 6:12:49 a.m. Eastern Time on August 7, 2026. Beyond the numbers, Trump wanted to have U.S. energy dominance and low energy prices but is getting one without the other, a situation he hates. U.S. insurers hold some $40 billion of debt investments on their books that have been privately graded by Egan-Jones, a firm whose ratings have come under scrutiny. Next, we turn to the technology sector. Facing an AI apocalypse, once-hot software companies are racing to reinvent themselves. Generative AI is steamrollering the industry known as software as a service, or SaaS, where customers access software over the internet typically on a subscription basis. SaaS exploded in the 2010s, with companies such as Slack and Zoom raising hundreds of millions of dollars from venture capital firms and going public in blockbuster IPOs. Now people in Silicon Valley talk gloomily about a SaaS apocalypse. AI threatens to make some software tools obsolete, particularly those built around narrow tasks such as legal drafting, research, and other repetitive work, according to reporter Kate Clark. In the reporter's notebook, Corey Drybush explains how investors seeking exposure to the hottest private companies often turn to special purpose vehicles, or SPVs. She has long been fascinated by SPVs, both by who creates them, sometimes close friends of the private company's executives, and by how the funds give investors exposure to a company's shares. Buying stakes in SPVs is a trust exercise because investors do not directly own shares before the company goes public. There have been cases where SPVs do not work as advertised. Last year, a colleague and she reported on an internal investigation at an investment firm that advertised pre-IPO stock sales, which turned up evidence that the firm's customers never had exposure to the securities they thought they did. Ahead of SpaceX's historic IPO in June, Drybush wondered how many investors believed they had exposure to the rocket maker but actually did not. Her reporting led her to Ram Rupareddy, who bought a $17,250 stake in an SPV promising exposure to SpaceX more than 5 years ago. After the company went public, his dream of a windfall seemed within reach. Instead, as her story this week reports, the investment firm Rupareddy used is now telling him it sold the stake 2 years ago when SpaceX was worth far less than it is today. Since publication, she has heard from dozens of SPV investors about the surprises they have encountered after buying their stakes. The next feature story looks at Washington, D.C., which Peter Papalakos describes as America's newest billionaire boomtown. When Trump returned to office and vowed to shrink the federal government, some housing observers fretted over the impact on the long-stable housing market in the district. Instead, its luxury market is setting records as wealthy administration members and tech and finance executives placing more value on proximity to the capital buy trophy homes there. In the Happening Today section, the Labor Department is releasing the July jobs report. Earnings releases are expected from Under Armour and Wendy's, and readers can check today's paper for further details. The number spotlight is on a $100 item, the Golden Glizzy, a decadent hot dog served on a fresh-baked croissant bun and topped with 30 grams of Ossetia caviar and 24-karat edible gold flakes. It became a viral sensation and sold out at both the Miami Open and the Formula One Miami Grand Prix, illustrating how the humble Frank has been experiencing a cultural glow-up. And finally, we share the personal story of Emily Hackney. She was a teenager 2.5 weeks away from marrying an aspiring pastor in rural Appalachia when police seized the man's phone, scrolled through his pictures, and arrested him on child pornography charges. After that episode, Hackney's life continued to shift in unforeseen ways, which she detailed in her new book All That's Unseen. She went from making sandwiches at a Subway shop while attending a local community college to starting over at Harvard University as a transfer student. While there, her life devolved into loneliness and dislocation, and she found herself trading sex for money beyond the campus confines. Beyond the newsroom, the opinion page notes that the Trump administration revealed this month that it plans to end a subsidy for Medicare Part D insurers, with the enhancements having turned out to be much more expensive than Democrats and the Congressional Budget Office had claimed. Also, Wall Street Journal by Side offers a guide to the best term life insurance companies based on cost, coverage features, and more. That's your briefing from the 10-point newsletter for August 7, 2026. Stay informed, and we'll see you next time.